Okay, boys and girls, today we're going to look at how to actually read the unit circle. In the last two videos, you've looked at how to complete the unit circle, but in this one, we want to look at what do we actually do with these numbers. One of the things I just want to tell you, on a test, generally you will be given a blank unit circle and asked to complete it, and from that blank unit circle, be able to find values on the unit circle. So let me just remind you of a couple of things. In the unit circle, on the unit circle, cosine is your x value and sine is the y value, okay? And then tangent is y over x. Because remember, tangent is the opposite side of the adjacent side. So in this case, it would be y over x. So using this information, we should be able to find any number on the unit circle. So let's just start with an easy one. Let's start with cosine 0. So cosine is our x value. So what we want to do is we want to locate cosine on our graph, on our circle. So here's cosine. And then the x value of cosine is square root of 3 over 2, and that's my cosine value, is the x value. So I simply, once I find 30 degrees, pi over 6, I find the x coordinate of that ordered pair, and so my answer is simply just radical 3 over 2. Easy peasy. Okay, for the sine of pi over 3, I'm going to do the same thing. I have to locate pi over 3 on the unit circle. In this case, is 60 degrees. And now because I'm looking for the sine, that's going to be the y value. And I just record what that is, radical 3 over 2. Now, tangent's going to be a little bit more pesky to work with because we're going to have to do some mathematics for it. But we still find 5 pi over 4 on the unit circle. It's in the third quadrant. And we notice in the third quadrant, both of our values are negative. So we're going to use both the y and the x. So the y value is negative radical 2 over 2. And so is my x value. Now the way we simplify that, if you recall from last unit, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. They're both negative. So when I multiply two negatives together, I get a positive. And then this radical 2 is going to cancel with that radical 2. And the negative 2 is going to cancel with that negative 2. And I'm going to get positive 1. Okay? So tangent, you have to do a little bit more work, but it's manageable. All right, so then if we go to cosine of 11 pi over 6, 11 pi over 6 is in the fourth quadrant. And so I locate 11 pi over 6. And because I'm looking for cosine, I'm looking for the x value. So that's going to be just radical 3 over 2. Cosine of 300. Again, we locate that on the unit circle. It's in degrees, so I go down to cosine 300. That's 5 pi over 3. And I'm looking for cosine, so I'm looking for the x value. Okay, here's another one of those pesky tans where we're going to have to do a little bit of division, but we're going to find 4 pi over 3. 4 pi over 3 is also in the third quadrant, and they're both negative. So it's y over x. So it's the y value over the x value. So that would be negative radical 3 over 2 divided by negative 1/2. And again, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. Negative times 2, negative 2 over 1. And notice your 2's cancel, and you're left with just simply radical 3. They both were negative, so your answer is going to end up being positive. Cosine of pi. Cosine is my x value, so I locate pi on my handy-dandy unit circle. And I look for that x value, and the x value is negative 1. And so that's my answer. Oh boy, we got to do another division problem. So we're going to go to pi over 2. And remember, it's x over y. So that's 1 over 0. Now, can we divide anything by 0? No, we can't. So we would say in this case that tangent is undefined. And we're going to graph tangent later, so you'll see why at 0 tangent is undefined. Okay, so why don't you pause the video and you do the last row and then come back and we'll finish it up together. All right, welcome back. We're going to start with tan of pi. So we're going to go to tan of pi. We've already highlighted it. Okay, and so we just have to remember it's y over x. So now we have 0 over negative 1. Well, 1 over 0 is undefined, but 0 over negative 1 is 0. Okay, just remember 0 can't be in the denominator, but we can divide into 0. So the answer is 0. All right, we've got to go to 2 pi over 3, which is in the second quadrant. I think that's the first time we went in the second quadrant today. In the second quadrant, sine is positive and cosine is negative. So I'm looking for sine of 2 pi over 3. That's just simply radical 3 over 2. Okay, cosine of 7 pi over 4. We are back in the fourth quadrant. And it's cosine, so that's going to be your first value there. So radical 2 over 2. And we're going to end with the tangent problem. Yay, don't you just love tan? All right, so tangent of 150, that would be here. And we're doing y over x. So I have 1/2 over radical 3 over 2. And one of them is negative. The x coordinate is negative. So this gives me 1/2 times negative 2 over radical 3. My 2's cancel each other out, so I'm left with negative 1 over radical 3. And in calculus, I am completely fine with that answer. However, the people that B don't like radicals in the denominator, so we have to rationalize that. So we have to do radical 3 over radical 3. And that becomes negative radical 3 over 3. And that's how you're going to find that answer on any multiple choice question. All righty, boys and girls. So hopefully by the end of this video, you can actually read the unit circle. You can look at the unit circle and find different values from it. I hope that was an easy lesson, and I hope it helped. I will see you later. Bye, boys and girls. And tomorrow we get to graph sine and cosine. Yay!